and welcome to my Data News edition of September. I'm Tatiana, Data Protection Officer and Personal Development Lead at MyData-TRUST. Today we will present you 3 news. So let's start. First of all, let's follow up on the adequacy decision for the Transatlantic Data Transfers. Then we will see what are the advances of European Commission for the reuse of data. And lastly, the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, ENISA, issued a report analyzing the landscape of threats of the healthcare sector. So let's go. As you may know from our last webinar on LinkedIn, on the 10th of July, the European Commission issued adequacy decision for transatlantic transfers, which were effective immediately. However, keeping in mind the historic invalidation of the previous adequacy decision, it was not sure how long these ones will last.
So we know that none of your business associations, and we know that behind there is Max Schrems, of course, normally they will just challenge this decision, and maybe this decision will go once again into court. So maybe we'll have a Schrems 3 decision. That's a possibility. We just do not know when it will be the case, and we know that there will be normally a few years ahead before this decision will just be finalized.
And here we go. In less than 2 months after the adequacy decisions were issued, a French lawmaker, Philippe Latombe, who is a member of French Parliament but also seated in the French Data Protection Authority, CNIL, challenged the adequacy decision in front of European Union's General Court. He lodged a request for annulation of data privacy framework, and the legal arguments being the following. First of all is the absence of guarantees of a right to an effective remedy, and in particular the lack of transparency in the newly created Data Protection Review Court procedure. Also, he mentions the breach of minimization proportionality principle of the GDPR, in particular due to what he identifies as bulk collection of personal data by the US surveillance authorities. And lastly, the language in which the adequacy decisions were written, which is now only English and should be translated to all the languages of the European member states. So, what to do now if you plan to transfer data from Europe to US? To certify or not to certify to data protection framework? This is the question. Stay calm, you can still use the standard contractual clauses which are still valid. Perform your transfer impact assessment, and if you have doubts, you can always contact MyData-TRUST lawyers. Now, let's see what are the advances of European Commission regarding the reuse of data. They issued logos to identify trusted European Union data intermediaries and data altruism organizations. Data is a valuable source for innovation across several sectors of European Union, including health sector. And sharing data within healthcare sector, including clinical trials, is important for finding treatments and personalized medicine to cure rare diseases or chronic diseases. The Data Governance Act aims to make more data available by increasing the trust in data sharing and tackling the technical obstacles. It concerns the reuse of data that is publicly available or publicly held, and both personal or non-personal data are concerned. And whenever personal data is concerned, here comes the General Data Protection Regulation as a major pillar of the Data Governance Act. To ensure trust and transparency for sharing data, the European Commission has issued logos. The aim is to help identify trusted data intermediation service providers and also data altruism organizations within the European Union. The data intermediation services and data altruism organizations that opt for the use of the logo should satisfy the conditions enshrined in the Data Governance Act. They will have to display the logo clearly on every online and offline publication. The logo for the data altruism organizations recognized by the European Union must be accompanied by a QR code with a link to the European Union Public Register of Recognized Data Altruism Organization, which will be available as of 24 September 2023. So let's jump to our third news. from European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, ENISA, who issued its first cyber threat landscape for the healthcare sector. ENISA analyzed a total of 215 publicly reported incidents in the healthcare sector in the European Union and the neighboring countries. The analysis provides some insights on the types of threats, actors, impacts, and trends for a period of over 2 years. So, what are the major findings? The European health sector experienced a significant number of incidents with major targets being the healthcare providers. More than half of the total incidents, hospitals in particular, and only around 10% occurred for health authorities, bodies and agencies, and pharmaceutical industry. The primary threat in the healthcare system is ransomware, which was responsible for more than half of the incidents. And only 1/3 of the surveyed organization had in place dedicated ransom defense program. The type of data that was stolen by the cybercriminals include both health organizations' data and patients' data for around 30%, including electronic health records. The analysis points out that the root of such attacks are the vulnerabilities in the healthcare system, which includes software, hardware, but also the medical devices. So the impacts of those incidents are major. Firstly, on the patient safety. There were potential delays in the triage and treatment within the emergency units. Significant consequences also were pointed out for the health organizations, primarily resulting in breaches or theft of data around 40%. The report also highlights the financial loss for the organizations with a median cost of around 300,000 euro. So you ask yourself how to create good protection of personal data within your organization. MyData-TRUST can provide you an optimal advice, considering your budget, the size, and also the type of processing activities within your organization. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow our next LinkedIn Live on September 28 and get a sneak peek of the upcoming European Health Data Protection Congress with our Chief Operating Officer Anastasia Negruk and Secretary General of European Federation of Data Protection Officers Pierre-Yves Lastic. Goodbye!